Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Marta Chmielewska-Anielak and I represent International Project Department and our university. I would like to welcome you at the conference, which is actually the final step in our 2 years Erasmus Plus project, SwitchOff, supporting workers' well-being during remote work. I would like to welcome very warmly our partners, Eleni and Katerina from IOD Cyprus, Fatima and Andrea from University of Verona, Italy, Markela and Lydia from Cardet, Cyprus, Anna from Mindshift, Portugal, and Kostas from Hapsi from Greece. I would also like to welcome very warmly our guests, Mrs. Monika Zielińska-Misior, CEO from Gravet Consulting, Anna Michalak from Psychology Department of AHE, Adam Bednarek, our panel discussion moderator from English Philology Department of AHE. Before I give the floor to other speakers, I would like to introduce you to the order of the conference. Actually, it is divided into two parts. First part is designated to the intellectual outputs we elaborated during the whole project. After each presentation, there will be a time to ask questions, if needed, of course. The second one is a panel discussion addressing important topics related to dealing with work-life balance, in particular remote work. Between the sessions, we will have short 15 minutes break and then lunch. After lunch, we officially end the conference and we will issue certificates. You can pick them at the reception. If you registered yesterday afternoon, please contact the project department and the reception desk to arrange the form of receipt of the certificates. On the back of your identifiers, you have QR code directing to the registration website with agenda of the conference. If you have any questions, I am at your disposal during the whole conference, as well as my colleagues from our department. And now I would like to ask Director of our Academy, Elżbieta Dul-Ledwosińska, to say a few words on behalf of our university. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. It's a fantastic opportunity to have you here. I prepared a short welcome speech, but I believe I can improvise. Turn back to this phone if I cannot manage. I'm happy to welcome you on behalf of our authorities and academic society. And I'm very glad to have the conference on such a relevant, increasingly relevant topic, remote work, because our fast-paced and digitalized world brings the opportunities to work remotely, which is great. We have a great deal of experience while having the Polish virtual university, and I myself have worked remotely for 15 years on this university, virtual university. But it also blurs the lines between our personal and professional lives. So let's get started our today's conference to work on to ensure our teams collaborate, work better, but also know how to detach, how to relax and recharge. So I give it my microphone, give it back to Marta, to good hands, and we are friendly and we have open environment, so I'm sure that we can work on some best practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Ella. Okay, so now I think we can start the official part of our conference. So I would like to invite our first speaker, Eleni, from IOD, from Cyprus. So the floor is yours right now.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Eleni Nicolaou, and I'm coming from Institute of Development from Cyprus. And I'm here today to talk about a little bit about our project and the work package that the Institute of Development worked on. Actually, the project covers the need of all the HR professionals, vet trainers and managers, and also remote workers to find ways to switch off from work and find the time to detach and avoid stress and have a well-being on their life and life balance. Sorry for my English. I'm a little bit stressed because I present for the first time in front of people, and I can use a pointer. Okay. And
another microphone.
Oh. Okay, as I already mentioned, based on researchers, during the pandemic and a bit late and afterwards, people use their free time to work, and their daily rest period of 11 hours required by the Working Time Directive is often not respected. That was the reason that with our project we tried to protect the right of remote workers to disconnect from work and recover properly. The consortium of this project are partners from Cyprus, Poland, Greece, Spain, Portugal, Italy, and Spain. Okay. As all the previous people mentioned before, the project is about the training of HR professionals, the trainers and managers, and also the remote workers to use effectively digital resources to disconnect from work during non-working hours. Those are the objectives of the project, to raise awareness to managers on how to the importance of facilitating this engagement, improving the ability to remote workers to switch off and disengage, and we provide them with the appropriate knowledge of how to use digital technologies for that. To prevent remote workers to feel exhausted and to recover properly. To develop the capacity of HR professionals with practices and policies to support their employees. And to develop innovative quality training materials for those HR professionals and managers to support the rehabilitation process. The result of the project is the toolkit with practices and policies for the HR managers and the remote workers, a training program for the HR managers and all the and an e-learning platform. You can see here the results shown in the platform. The aim, I already mentioned the aim of the toolkit is to provide to HR managers and vet trainers to give them the knowledge to support their employees, and also for the remote workers to have access on tools and tips to help them disengage from working on non-working hours. So this is the importance of the right to disconnect. It increases work-life balance, mental health and productivity, reduces the stress and strengthens the employee retention. Now, the toolkit is developed for the two target audiences. Actually, one module of each target audience. The module 1 it's for the HR professionals, consists with 4 chapters, and the module 2 is for the remote workers with 3 chapters. Both of the modules have okay, wait a minute, sorry. Both of them have the theory and the tips, the practices, and also some activities to help people to make some exercises to elaborate more. The following slides are describe in detail every chapter of each module and its key points. I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of details. You can visit the platform and see the toolkit. On the platform, we took the initiative to break the toolkit in the 2 modules. So if you're an HR professional, manager, or the trainer, you can see the dedicated module just for you. And if you're a remote worker, employee, you can see only the module 2. You have the options, let's say, to see them separately. Those are some examples of the activities for the HR professionals. As you can see, we break down here, but I'm not gonna spend a lot of time to explain everything. Feel free to look at the toolkit and the platform. Sorry. Okay. Now, it's very important for everyone to know what work-life balance means to everyone separately. For sure, none have the same way of having work-life balance, but you can think of it and find the answers that suits you. Now I'm gonna share some of the tips that you can find also in our toolkit. It's very important to enjoy, to find the enjoyment in our work, and enjoyment help us to be aware of the positive and adopt behaviors and thinking that reinforce this positivity. And the remote workers, they can incorporate enjoyment in their daily lives, so they can increase those positive feelings and combat stress. Also, we suggest here we all need to have a minute of awe, so we can get up when we feel stressed. We can get up, take a breath, go outside of the building, even if it's an apartment, our house, or the office, the days that we work from office. Look up the sky and observe what you see and what you feel, maybe, and take another breath. Sorry, wrong button. Okay, and of course, take mini breaks. Each one of us have a different way to have a break. We can go to the kitchen, have a drink, or we can also listen to music, call a friend, chat with our partner, or everyone we feel safe, just to disconnect for an instant recovery during the day. We suggest that there are 10-minute breaks. And those are the types of, sorry? That's okay. I already told them. Okay, and the types of micro breaks are covering physical needs. As I mentioned, we can go out, we can walk a bit, We can have relational covered needs, mental needs, and spiritual needs. We can do all of them, some of them, whatever we like. Just the point is to distress and switch off from work. Thank you, everyone. I'm sorry for being stressed. Hope not to make you nervous. You can follow our pages, social media and website of Institute of Development. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Eleni. So I would like to ask the audience if you have some questions to ask about this work package. Maybe.
I've already checked the website, so are we able to find the modules on the website or the toolkit in PDF? Or how
Yes, actually not all of the deliverables are already uploaded on the website. They will be there. But we have also a platform. So actually on the platform, everything is there right now. Yes, so we will tell a few words about the platform as well later on. Okay? Any more questions? Okay, if not, now I would like to give floor to our other partner, Fatima. So the floor is yours. Please sit down. Thank you.
Do I have to say? Hello, hi everybody. My name is Fatima Boumam-Collavo and I am a psychologist and a PhD student at the University of Verona, Italy. So basically, University of Verona was the leader of the work package 3, which was the training modules, actually training program of the SwitchOff project. Okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, so basically, we did this. We took all of the information and the knowledge we gathered from work package 2, basically coming from the focus groups, the questionnaires, from the toolkit, and we created this training program divided in 7 modules. Each module covers a topic, and each module was assigned to one of the partners. After creating this training program, we tested it. First, we tested it with some trainers. Basically, we conducted a Train the Trainers workshop where we literally just trained the trainers on how to train other people with this program. And after that, we conducted the piloting of the training. So basically, what we did is recruit 20 participants, HR professional, and also just regular remote workers, and we tested the training with them. Basically, they participated in the training. We collected feedbacks, and yeah, and actually it was very good. We did that across all of the countries of the partners, and we gathered very interesting and nice feedbacks from the participants. Sorry. Okay, so this is an overview of the modules of the training program. So as you can see, there are different titles that cover different topics, but and we will delve very quickly into each one of those. But what I wanted to do here today is, since you are very young people, as I can see, some of you might be students, other might be already workers, I wanted to bring my specific experience with remote work. So I am a PhD student, and in our research group, Arterion, there's 10 PhDs, I think, and 3 or 4 collaborators. We weren't that many before, before 2 years ago. There was just 5 or 6 of us, and then when the group got bigger, it became necessary to implement remote work specifically because we also included people that come from different countries, and it was very nice for them to basically be able to work from home, don't leave their country, come and visit often, obviously, but just be able and comfortable to not have to move in order to get a work opportunity. So we implemented remote work like 100% of the time. And it was challenging at first, but then we managed to make it work. And I think I was very lucky to, we were very lucky as a research group to have the opportunity to be working on this specific project at that specific time, because it gave us insights and strategies to help us go through this process. So first of all, this is the first module, which is recovery from work. It was developed by IOD, our Cypriots partners. And yes, basically, it gives insights and a theoretical background on what is the process of recovery from work. As soon as we implemented remote work in our research group, one of the first struggles we had to face as workers was how to actually detach from work. This applies not only on remote work, but actually on also any other kind of work. So basically it is how to stop thinking about work when you're not supposed to be working and when you're not supposed to be thinking about work. That wasn't easy. In our experience, we had to actually question and wonder, how can we do that? And basically this module covers these questions. It also introduces some strategies that are very helpful and to actually detach, psychologically detach from work, and some practical applications and strategies. I think it was covered actually in the first presentation, so I will not delve too much into the different type of strategies and activities. Then we have the importance of disconnecting. Well, this actually obviously applies specifically for remote workers. What is the thing that makes remote work mainly different from just a workplace, like a regular type of work where you have to go on your workplace, is that you have access to your work device, so literally to your work all the time. You can answer an email, you can check your application, you can reply to a text, you can get a call even though it's not during your working hours. And this is probably one of the main struggles in managing to disconnecting. The other day I was speaking to a friend of mine. She is also working for a company that does European projects, and it was like late at night, and she said to me, I keep receiving emails. And I was like, yeah, but you can like turn off the notification, you know that? And she was like, yeah, I do, but you never know. What is that you don't have to know like after 9 p.m. on a Friday night? What is so important? And so that was actually for me like a moment to think and reflect on how even though we might not be working during that time, there are continuous intrusion and thoughts that are directed to work. And this can potentially, this applies on a long period of time, it can it can lead you to stress, work-related stress, and eventually also burnout. Sorry again. Okay. So this is the third module. The third module was actually developed by Cadet, and it is challenges faced by remote workers. So I just mentioned a couples. We faced many. I'm sure you all faced many challenges during remote work. Specifically if it is a flexible remote work type where you don't really have like a specific timing to start and a specific time to get off work. And here you can also in this module you can find basically some we mentioned some specific challenges that remote workers often have to face, just like the lack of separation between work and home, so blurred boundaries, as we mentioned before, difficulties switching off, and the always-on culture. Also, for what concerns the experience I had with the focus group, one thing that I have noticed is that those remote workers that participated mentioned that for them, the hardest part in disconnecting during remote work was the lack of commuting. So it's that period of time where that you need to basically just reach your workplace, which sometimes might be annoying because it might be long, but they actually told me that was a moment where I managed to just stop thinking about work, think about my personal life, think what they're gonna do during the weekend and with their families, and that actually set a specific break between the working time and the home time, private life time. So basically that you cannot apply that during remote work. So also again in this module there are some strategies and practices that you can use in order to avoid that. Then there's Kriya's module. It is using digital technologies on the remote work. Basically, this is very important because ICTs are literally, they become your work tool when you're working remotely, and having an effective and functional platform, even more than one, can actually change the approach you have to work and also reduce stress. I remember at the beginning we had several applications we were trying, several platforms, and at the end, the best choice we did was basically reduce the number of applications and platforms in order to get as like the minimum number of different tools, and that actually helped us to communicate more effectively and not get lost in any kind of communication. And also this module covers another very important topic, which is the calls during remote work. So basically what literature says that Korea reported is that the ideal number of calls can vary according to obviously the type of job and the number of workers, but we should try to reduce it as much as possible because it can cause stress, and specifically it can literally just take time from your actual work. Okay, then we have, sorry, I went back. Okay, we have HAPSIS modules, which is evidence-based strategies to disconnect from work. We mentioned earlier during IOD's IOD's presentation some strategies. So I think we mentioned walking in nature, mindfulness, and several activities. In this module, you can find a very detailed list and a very detailed explanation of how each activity can help you recover and detach from work. But literally, as it was mentioned before, it just comes down to what you actually like doing and individual preferences. Then there's AHE module, which is managerial role in promoting disconnection. Yeah, basically this module explains explains the role of managers in helping remote workers disconnect from work. It also includes different strategies and best practices on how managers can actually apply the disconnection, the right of remote workers to actually disconnect. And what is, I think, the key element here is that basically managers should lead by example. So remote workers should have the example of a manager that not only doesn't text you after working hours, but just doesn't work during non-working hours. Okay, last module was made by Univiere, so us, and basically just gives you a step-by-step guide on how to implement policies, specifically policies to disconnect, to preserve the right to disconnect for workers. So this module and maybe the one before are more directed to HR managers and professionals and not just to remote workers. Basically in this module we present all of the potential risks in not actually creating organizational policies to safeguard the right to disconnect, but also we present all of the potential risks that can occur when a company uses policies, organizational policies, as a tool to do branding basically, and just to, because it's, you know, everybody's doing policies, everybody is green, and they just use it as a catch. So there are several negative consequences, like, well, damage organizational reputation and lack and legal regulatory risks. Yeah. So yeah, this is a little description of the pilot testing, and I actually just introduced it at the beginning. So these are some pictures of our section. We did it online, and yes, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fatima. Okay, guys, do you have some questions regarding that part? Maybe? Yes?
Hello, my name is Marcin Włodarczyk. I work as an office advisor, let's say, to tenants, and I have a question regarding your programs and studies. Do you work when doing your studies with employees or employers as well? I mean, checking their point of view on disconnecting. I mean, this is my basic question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So the studies were actually conducted during work package 2, and we both included remote workers and HR managers, so both of them. We conducted 2 different data collections. So we collected data from remote workers via a focus group. So just basically a discussion where we ask them a question and we gather qualitative data. And then we administrated to HR professionals and managers a questionnaire, a 25-item, I think, questionnaire. So we got from the HR professional quantitative data, and we used both the data to create the toolkit. And yeah.
This all relates to. And all this job is relating to full remote jobs, right? Not partial remote, because also there are some modes of working, like 3 days remote work and 2 days in the office, or 1 day in the office, or very popular, at least in Poland, in IT industry, let's say, where employees come when they want to the office, but normally once a month it happens that they come. Anyway, they work remotely. So my question is whether they were fully remote, right? Probably.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, there were some cases of hybrid workers, so who had to go there for, usually it's like 2 days a week or something. But yeah, most of them were, the majority were remote workers, full-time remote workers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fatima. Thank you. So, would you like maybe to ask more questions? Okay, if not, because we are ahead of time right now, we should finish a little bit more later. So now I will invite you to a short break, around 15 to 20 minutes, and then we will continue. Okay, so you can help yourself. You have some drinks, coffee, tea, some sweets, okay? And we will see in 20 minutes, more or less, from now.
Bo się zapracał. Granice między biura.
Zresztą jest platforma politycznego prawda? Wszyscy wiedzą, że ona jest, że ma ale ma też muszą mieć wszyscy chcą jakby rozmawiać z doświadczeniami, a to są zagadnienia, które bardzo intensywnie wchodzą w nasze codzienne życie, tak? I prywatne, i to biznesowe, tak? Tak, też skorzystali, po prostu myślano o tym uczestnikom projektu swoje pytania, bo to tak nie, no bo to jest jednak doświadczenie, tak jak powiedziałam, tak? Pierwsze
Okay, welcome back. I think we can continue right now. Maybe the others will join us in a minute. Okay, thank you very much for staying with us still. So now we will present our last product, our last work package for the platform. And I would like to invite Markela from Cardet from Cyprus.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. So our fourth working package was the e-learning platform. I will not say something new with regards to the content because it has already been presented. I will just say only the titles of the modules, but you have already seen. I will more guide you through how to create an account on that, and it will be a walk through the platform. So, starting with the aim of the working package 4 was to develop, first of all, the material, which was then uploaded, then to have the accessible to all remote workers platform, where you can access the material, practice it, complete the self-evaluation tool, which we will see in a bit. That's all. Let's go. So the first thing you see when you click on the e-learning platform link is this. So you can register, you add some basic information, a username, a password, your email, last name, first name, last name, and then you can either choose to be registered on the platform either as a remote worker or a manager. We did this because we thought that since there is content developed specific to the targets, there's no need for the other target to access to that. However, you can have 2 accounts if you want in order to access the whole material. So you can access either as a manager. Here is important to mention that when you complete this page, there is a part. I will stand. It's right there. It says country. So please complete that part too, because the country which is chosen by default starts with A. So if your country is, please choose that too, because it helps us to have an idea of the analytics and the registered users. Okay, so we start with the interface of the remote workers. This is what you see if you are entering as a remote worker, and then you go directly to the 4 components. The first one is the toolkit, which Eleni presented earlier, and here we have module 2, which is about remote workers. So this is how it looks. You can download or print the toolkit. Some people prefer to do that, so we enable this option. And then we move to the self-evaluation tool. So the idea of this tool is, here you can see 7 statements, which I wrote them because it's too small, so you have the chance to read them. Whoop. Okay, so by replying to this, not replying, you actually put a value on how frequent you do this. So from a scale from 0, which is never, to 5, which is always, you more or less give them the picture of what are your practices with regards to these topics. So do you check your emails on weekends? Are you constantly connected to the apps? If you have a deadline, do you keep thinking about it all the time? So after you complete these sentences, you submit, and according to your responses, so if someone does that always, receives different tips on how to deal with this. So for instance, I have some example, I don't know if you can read it. For instance, for this first question, I will check my emails on weekends. This person replied 4, which means frequently. So you can find here some tips For instance, they can deactivate their professional email account during the weekends. They can set up an out-of-office autoresponder. So I will not go through this because I want you to test that. And at the end, I have the QR code. So you will have the chance to register. It's very fast. So you can access it and complete it yourself. So I will. Okay, then we move to the e-library part, where here we uploaded articles, EU policies, websites, videos, podcasts, and other SwitchOff resources that are related to our topic. So you can also read information from these resources if you're interested in learning more things about this topic. And then we have the chat, where people are free to enter, register a topic they are interested in, or if they want to share a best practice, if they want to ask something. And we give the chance to remote workers, because in this way, in this site, you're registered as a remote worker, to discuss between them. Maybe they want to share something they did and was successful, or whatever. And then we move to the managers area. You can see here that what is added is the training program. Also, the self-evaluation tool has different sentences, you will see in a bit. So the toolkit now here is the module 1, which is about the managers. So again, you can download and print it if you want. The training program, which was presented by Fatima very well, we have the 7 modules. The titles are there. So the idea is to have an introductory video at the beginning, so you can have a very draft idea what it talks about. And then we have the module in PDF version. You can again download or print if you want. And there is also an assessment. The assessment has some questions that are related to the content of each module. And we did that because it's also beneficial for someone who reads something to assess his own self if they understood the concept and some basic parts of the module. Then the self-evaluation tool, here we have 6 sentences. Again, the scale is from 0 to 5. And here are the sentences. So you can see that these are related to the manager. So I will send emails to my team members on weekends. So now you see that we reversed how we view the topic. And according again to their responses, they get tips on how to deal with that. So for instance, on the first one, someone replied 1, which is like not very often. So they say schedule emails for weekends. So you can start preparing some drafts and send them on Monday instead of weekend. And it goes like this. Okay, the e-library part is common. So both target groups have access to the same resources for pretty obvious reasons, because articles write about both. Most of the time, not articles, resources talk about both. And the chat room, which is, this area is about managers. So managers can exchange information between them. So now I want to ask you if you are interested to scan the QR code. So you can have a look of the platform. You can register with your own email and create your own account. And maybe we can, if we have time, maybe we can register, we can complete the self-evaluation tool. It's also nice for you to see what tips you will get according to what you do. And of course, if you have any questions, let me know. I think now I made you all switched on instead of switched off. You're all connected and working very silent. Is there anyone that completed it and received tips? So someone that wants to comment something or share how it makes them feel? Otherwise, I will be here around and we can discuss anything you want also during the break. So thank you very much for hearing the presentation, and I hope you will enjoy the content. We will figure out if there is any general problem with the platform for those that didn't have the chance to access again. But yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So maybe you have some questions, or we want to share your feelings about the platform, about the usability of it. Maybe some suggestions. Okay, so maybe now we also can present, we will show you the QR code to our website, so you can scan it as well. And I really encourage you to check it out later on. As I said at the very beginning, not all deliverables are already uploaded there, but we are in a working progress because the project formally is going to finish in the end of November, so we still have time, yes. But today's meeting is just to present what we did during the whole project lifetime. Yes, so maybe we can show the QR code with the website right now. You can scan it, you can check it out later on. We really encourage you to share your feelings. And after that, we will start our panel discussion. And just a formal thing, after the panel discussion, I will really like you to fill in the evaluation form, which is very important because we need your feedback about the conference. So thank you very much in advance, okay? So now you can scan the code for the website. Okay, so I hope so that you had a chance to scan it. So as I said, please try it out later on. So now, moderator of our panel discussion, Mrs. Monika Zielińska-Mysior, Gravet Consulting, and our PhD, Anna Michalak from Psychology Department. So please, the floor is yours. I also encourage the whole audience to take part in the panel. You can share your thoughts. So.
Okay, hello. Let's see if this is on. I hope everybody can hear me well. Hello, my name is Adam. I'd like to welcome you to this panel discussion on switching off. And we're going to try to understand what that means. And I would like to touch upon 4 areas today. The first area we can generally define as a work-life balance. What does that mean? What is a work-life balance? Please.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. What is a key to switch off at a certain point, which means to find the time for your professional life as well as your personal life, the time that is satisfying for you, meaning that if you feel that you are fulfilled both personally and professionally, this is the work-life balance. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, it's very individual.
So it's very individual. Ma'am, how do you define work-life balance?
Actually, I do agree. I think when you achieve this balance, it means you are happy both at your work and about your private life. Yes, and so what was more specific question?
Is that possible? Within these times? Because since, of course, the coronavirus situation where we all wound it up online and we had to face new challenges and many of us sunk into this reality. Sure. Is it possible to get out?
Actually, of course, I am not a person to like competently maybe or I don't know if there is any answer to that question, but I think it's possible and it's, as I agree, very individual. It's also especially dependent on if your work is meaningful, if you feel self-motivated for work, if
you can some kind of self-leadership yourself in a work, and if you have a safe work environment. I think those are important things.
Because this is leading to my next question, actually, which is what type of strategies would both of you recommend that we use in order to bring about this work-life balance?
Well, I think it's important to have, because there is a concept which I'm not sure if it was mentioned, but it's often mentioned in the articles about this work-life balance in psychological literature, which is self-leadership. And it's important to have some skills in that. And this concept involves some also skills from the most important of them is self-awareness, which enable people to self-regulate their emotions. So I think the important strategy is how to be self-aware and how to regulate your emotions.
So what does it mean to be self-aware? Just for the audience to understand. What is self-awareness?
Self-awareness is to understand how you feel and why you feel like that. Just to put it most simply. And yes.
All right, so how can organizations help us achieve this work-life balance? Is there any strategy that can be employed at the place where we work, at the places we usually go to, that can help define and introduce certain aspects into everyday work to maintain this? Is it possible? What do organizations do?
Well, I think that organizations can, of course, educate, can communicate, but finally the choice is yours. At the end of the day, I agree with Anna that it's always the question of your self-awareness and what is important for you in your life, where you want to be in this life, how do you define yourself as a professional, how do you define yourself as a family member, as a community member, because each of us have different roles in our everyday life. So this is the question you have to answer yourself. If you want to be a manager, you have to be aware that the workload will be much, much more, the volume of work will be much, much more bigger than in case of somebody who is a specialist. And concerning your question, sorry, because I just a little bit drove away from it. First of all, from my point of view, the organizations can provide employees with some training programs concerning, I don't know, how to plan your work. This is very important because it seems to me that if you have 8 hours of work, of course it's important to make some breaks. However, if you concentrate at home mostly on work rather than other things, because you know at home there are so many things that attract our attention, which are devoted to our personal life. So if you are able to concentrate on that, if you know how to plan your work, you will be able to realize your tasks. Yes, this is important. Other things, it's important for somebody who works at home to have space, I don't know, sort of office where they work, and be aware that if you go to this space there, I realize my work solely. I don't involve myself in other tasks which can be distracting. It's important also for the organization to make employees aware that in case they have problems organizing their work, or if it's difficult for them to deal with remote work, with work at home, they should talk to their managers or HR managers. I know that for some people, this may be an issue to be at home and work on their own only, to have some relationships which are only by phone or by emails. So this is a big role, in my opinion, of HR department or the direct manager to make the employee aware that if you need to talk about it, if it's a problem for you, just don't hesitate, make me aware of that.
So are these HR personnel trained in, or do you have special trainings for them to prepare them to work with people on these issues?
We as an organization don't, because we have a different role. We deal with different things. However, I know that some companies have such training programs for their HR departments. I cannot tell you what percentage. I think it's very important, however, that this sort of trainings are realized because more and more people work remotely, work in different time zones, and I know that they deal with very important psychological issues concerning working away from the office.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because in the United States, they introduced this type of guidance counselor. Maybe not a trained psychologist, but at least a counselor which helps people deal with this situation. Do you think that would be a good idea to introduce these types of counselors here in Europe?
Probably yes, but I think that for many years already, developing emotional intelligence is very popular in companies, and they often hire external teams of trainers, psychologists to develop specific skills, especially self-awareness. So I think, as far as I know, companies often just use external sources to help with that. But of course, the more help, the better. Probably those counselors will be also useful.
So what are the warning signs that somebody is really crossing the line and this work is really affecting, as you say, your personal space? So what are these warning signs?
First, feeling of that your work is not important and you're not doing this work well. Decreased self assessment, and fatigue. Of course, there is also physical symptoms. First, it usually affects sleep. You might have different difficulties in sleeping. And of course, it is more difficult to regulate your emotions. So those are main signs, I think, first signs of burnout.
So can you share perhaps any personal stories from your company, from your organization, not naming names, of course, but stories of have your employees experienced this fatigue of balancing life and work? Do you recall any such situations in your organization? Have you had any?
Perhaps not particularly in my organization, because I think in my organizations we are taking very good care of that.
Of course.
However, I would like to add something to what Anna said, that when you perceive the drop of motivation of your employee, this is an important sign that you should talk to this person and see whether the person is not crossing the boundaries concerning the life-work balance. And of course, you have to be very careful and observe your employees very carefully to be able to perceive the first signs of such drop in motivation. In my company, because we are the consulting company, we deal a lot with managers. And I must say that, yes, of course, I can see a lot of examples concerning companies with whom we cooperate, or the candidates we have in our recruitment projects, where definitely work very much influences their everyday life, their personal life. These are obvious stories, of course, of answering emails at bizarre, for me, times of night, like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock at night. I get emails. Of course, I don't answer, or I just see it in the morning. However, I'm thinking about this person who is on the other side. What happened that instead of sleeping at 2 o'clock, the person is sending emails. This is, of course, these are the stories when somebody is subject to overwhelming stress. And for example, in the recruitment interviews that we conduct, we very often see managers who are behaving in such a way that we can recognize that they are either suffering from the professional burnout, or they were subject to something very, very stressful in their professional life. So what else? Giving calls or answering calls at very early in the morning, or very late in the evening. These are the stories I can share just right now. Perhaps if I thought about the examples a bit longer, I could provide some. However, I don't want to keep everybody here waiting.
Okay, thank you. Was this something that emerged when we went online, or was this something that had already been happening for years before?
From my point of view, it was before the COVID period, I would call it. Of course, it was taking place. However, its intensity grew in a very important way during the COVID time, and with the development of technology, which allowed us to participate in meetings in the long remote work contributes a lot to giving us more work, because if we have a direct contact with someone, I guess we can clear in a more easy way, quicker, and being remote and sending creativity concerning what you wanted to say, what is your real intention. So sometimes you send an email, you receive a which say, etc. If you have a direct contact, face contact, even by the phone, it's easier to clear things. So I think that unfortunately this was the dark side of the,
especially with people working time. For example, people working, let's say here in Poland and Europe, and then people working in the United States, we're getting off on 2 different time zones. And from my experience, it was always like that I would get these emails from the US because it would be warning. And they couldn't go with the idea that, how come you're not answering? I've been waiting 15 minutes and you still haven't answered my email. But then we got used to that, right? So would you have any recommendations for work across time? Approach when they get an angry email, why aren't you responding? And it's, let's say, 5, 6 o'clock here.
I just have to make it up right now because I don't I the subject, but quite obvious seems the solution just to address those issues, be very specific about when we are going to read emails and reply to them. The communication is the key, yeah. So I think this is the solution, because I just think those people who get angry should know they shouldn't get angry.
Well, they should. So I have a recommendation, because we're all phone-based right now. So why don't we work and a separate phone for our personal lives? Then you won't get that annoying ping sound when the email comes, and you won't have to answer it. I mean, would that be a good solution?
Yes, sure. Also, there are solutions already implemented, like there are special apps which delay after working hours. You cannot,
that's a good idea.
You just cannot send an email.
Would you like to add?
Yes, because recently I have noticed it concerns Poland. Good tendency, for example, sending and getting emails with a heading saying, I'm sending an email in a flexible mode. You don't have to answer it immediately, which means that very often people work in flexible mode, meaning if they finish, let's say, at 4 o'clock, they get back home, they get involved in the personal life, and then in the evening, for example, when they are answering the emails. Chose to work in such a way, which of course is their choice and should be respected, and they want to make the other person aware that they don't need an answer immediately. This was just the right time for them to send this email and answer when the other person is just ready for that. So this is one of the good, I think, tendencies or good, good practices which arose recently.
Work, don't send emails to your colleagues, because it's time for them to rest as well as you. So I think that is a very good idea.
Or just make them aware that you are sending because this is suitable for you, and they don't have to answer it immediately. This is not your expectations. This is rather what I wanted to say. That.
And as it works across cultures, because from I can tell you from experience in the United States, it's going to be very for somebody to write that way. I don't know, maybe I have been conditioned, and that's, I should start, some therapy for that. Comes in, it's either one of my coworkers, Marta over there, for example, saying, this has to be done. But again, it's something that we're learning. It's something that we're learning through this project, that we should have this time to switch. Name says. Okay, so that sums up the first part, ladies and gentlemen. So now I would like to go time-based scenario. And the time-based conflict scenario is what happens when your day-to-day needs and your day-to-day things that you should be doing for your family, for your friends, for your pets, whatever, and that hits the workload. How do we manage that? Because I know I'm here in one room, I'm on an meeting, and then I can hear my son is knocking on the door and said, "Dad, are you finished? We need to go, we need to go." You probably English class, for example. How do we feel? Why don't we hear from you, Anna?
Okay. I'm sure and this was already mentioned here, and also by you, when you said that workers should have separate space to work when they are working at. Of course, the key is to set very clear and strict boundaries, especially time boundaries, because you are talking about time-based conflict. So decide which exact hours are you going to work. And of course, it usually requires some flexible hours are helpful, because sometimes your family responsibilities are in the same hour when their usual work, like from 8 to 16. Sometimes you have to also pick your children from school, something like that. So for many people, it's better, and they can set their own working hours.
So are employers aware that they should, in some sense, also control the employee, so the manager works with the employee in such a way that the manager remembers and takes into account, while giving the workload, that that person might need to balance that time? Or does the manager just focus on finishing the task?
It doesn't. It depends on the manager.
Okay.
So it's very individual. It's difficult for me to answer this question. It's a question, I think, of on one hand of educating managers, of course, and I think that our labor code more and more imposes on managers, on us, to respect the time of work of employees. Yes, it's this is the question of I think being aware and talking it over with the people you work with, because sometimes just normally you have a project to finish, and it's like it's a question of the success of your, I don't know, company, of the project, etc. So as usual, communication is a clue to many things. If you talk it over with your team, that some extra involvement is necessary, then you have it. You just agree on it, and you know it's important. But crossing these boundaries too often doesn't work and doesn't pay in a long term, because then you can just suffer yourself from the burnout as well as your team.
So what happens, or what can we do when we know we're working overtime, we're having this time-based conflict, but most of us are afraid to reach out to the manager, right? Because we're afraid of consequences. What can we do in order not to feel that fear? Because people then just tend, I don't want to be the first one to raise my voice. How can we handle this?
Very difficult question. Of course, it depends on your personality a lot and your self-evaluation. If you value yourself and your time, and you know that you are doing very good work, maybe that it's easier to ask.
So just not be afraid and reach out to the manager, being aware that the manager will try to at least understand. Will the manager understand? If we have to finish the project on time, SwitchOff needs to be finished, but we can't finish something, I reach out to everybody and say, sorry, I'm on my break now. Right? How would they understand me, meaning my position?
Well, of course, it very much depends on the manager, because there are different managers. However, I would also always encourage to have courage to talk to your manager that you may have a problem, because the person who is your manager has a lot of tasks to realize and may normally not be aware of the fact that you are suffering from this problem. A lot of companies have HR departments where employees can, of course, go and talk about it. And HR managers and HR department employees understand these problems. They know that on one hand they have employees which perhaps may not be able to manage the overload of work they have. On the other hand, they have managers which have different like targets and other things which they have to achieve, and they are under the immense pressure, so they put over this pressure on their teams.
I think we learned a lot over the past 4 years, and I'd just like to share a personal story here to everyone. Many years ago, one of my good friends was running his translation company, and as translators, they always work remotely. They work from home, and so during work hours, he never left home. And one day, he met his neighbor, and his neighbor asked him, "You must be very rich." He looked at him and asked, "Why?" And the answer was, "Well, because you never leave the house, you never go to work." And the answer was, "Yeah, but I work from home." And the neighbor laughed and said, "No, you go to work. There's no such thing as working at home." Do you think that at the beginning of the pandemic, many people tried to redefine what it means working? So is there any difference between pre-pandemic, going to work, quote unquote, and staying and working remotely? Is there any difference?
I think yes, definitely. Really many people were forced to work online and still much more people than before pandemic works online. So I think for most people it's quite obvious that working online is just the same as going to work now. Just my thought.
Okay, this brings me to like point to area number 3, the strain we're on. Do you think it is more, the employee has more problems, let's say, with dealing with issues when working at home? Or is it easier having the same issues but being in the workplace? So is there a difference in that strain, the way that you deal with those problems?
Yes, I mentioned at first this psychological safety at your immediate work environment. I think this is crucial for managing this stress. And if you have this high, if you have very safe work environment, it's much easier. And of course, it depends mostly on your managers, on your work environment, because also this self-leadership seems like an individual skill, but you still work in an environment, and this safe environment is kind of a first step to achieve effective self-leadership. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Is it a valid solution to divide workers of an organization into those who work online versus only and those who come to the office? Or is there a mix? Which form is better? When you divide people, you're the online employees, you're the guys coming into the office, or is a model where they mix this 2 days in the office, 3 days online? What would you suggest? Which is better?
I would suggest, first of all, talking to people and by that finding the preferences, of course. However, perhaps you are aware that there is now a tendency get back to the office.
Yes.
There is, yes, and a lot of companies are making their employees get back to the office because everybody found that this form of work is easier. It's easier to communicate, first of all, and it's easier to perform tasks when people are back in the office. I think that the mixed model or hybrid model is the best one, and people should be able to choose which form of work is most suitable for them.
Which one for you as personally? Which do you prefer, being in the office on site or working remotely?
Well, I am in two roles because I work, of course, I am employed in my company and I am a manager, and my preference is to work in the office. However, to give people also a freedom to work remotely whenever it's necessary for them.
Okay.
And this is the form I prefer myself, because I think that there are moments when we need to stay at home and we need to work from home. And for example, when we, I don't know, feel worse on a given day, why not give people possibility, or perhaps they have something to arrange at home, like there is an electrician who comes and they have to stay at home. Why not give them that possibility? Or if they want to go away for one day somewhere and take work with them, why not? But in my opinion, working together in the office helps a lot in building relations, first of all, and explaining a lot of things.
Do you think that perhaps this remote working, which arose due to COVID, but were we always on this trajectory? Do you think it would have naturally started even if we didn't have the pandemic? That before the pandemic, well, certain organizations were maybe talking about it, thinking about it. Do you think this would have been a natural thing, or was it just COVID-related pandemic created this idea of the online environment?
I think it would develop naturally because we are all getting more and more global. So people have to have relations, work with teams which are in other countries, on other continents. So I think it would be a global tendency, like flexible work. We are getting all more flexible, and I think that working remotely helped us in implementing this mode.
So do you, Anna, do you think there is some special skills that we need to have, or let's call it competences, to work online? Because I know that some people absolutely cannot.
Yes, I think there are some skills like I already mentioned. You definitely need some skills to prevent burnout. Like I said, the crucial is the self-awareness and ability to self-regulate. Also, ability to set clear boundaries, and especially time boundaries, also space boundaries. So I think those are some skills. You also should be able to force yourself to make tasks which you don't like, which requires some skills about self-rewarding, self-punishment, and effectively execute tasks from yourself. So those kind of things.
Do you both remember the day that we went online, when you found out that we are exchanging our office buildings for our homes? And I want to ask about your personal reactions. What were your feelings and thoughts back then? You heard we're going online. How did that make you feel?
I don't remember.
You don't remember. Okay, Anna, what about you?
I remember that I wasn't working at all at that time.
Oh, well, I remember a lot of people not knowing actually how to start this. And what I'm getting at is the internet camera on, right? This is a problem that I've seen in Poland. It's very common in Poland of young people, for example, studying, but also sometimes people not wishing to show their image online during a meeting. Now, from communication theory, we know that communication is much more easier when we see the other person because we follow lip movement. When we talk to a blank screen, that's not really, because you've been talking a lot about communication, so that's not really communicatively effective in any way. In the United States, they introduced that if you're not showing yourself, it means you're not present, right? In Poland, I don't know how it was in other European countries, but in Poland, we were very flexible about this, and you would have gotten, for example, entire classes with nobody turning on their camera. And how important because people don't want to share their background, it's private, et cetera. But in an online working environment, there is no privacy in this sense, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Using the camera, showing your image, showing your personal home workspace.
Well, first of all, I think that the technology has gone a long way ever since the COVID started. So there are a lot of communicators that we can work on or using for work now. And there is no longer a possibility that somebody must see your background. You can have something behind you. You can just put it on in your well, like on Teams, etc. Because I'm working in recruitment, and of course, ever since the pandemic, we have a lot of interviews on online, mostly online. We never talk to people whose faces we don't see. And if you don't want to see show your face, or if you are not visible for some reasons because your camera doesn't work, we just cancel the interview and just postpone it for some other time which is suitable for the candidate, and when they have the ability to talk to us and we can see them first of all. Generally, I think it's difficult to communicate with somebody whom we cannot see, and I would, like in business area, even in private area, I would say that it's very, first of all, inconvenient, and we shouldn't put people into a situation where they are talking to us and they cannot see us.
Anna?
Yes, I agree with that, because I just started working when there was already COVID pandemic. I started working as an academic teacher, and I started to have my own classes online. And at first there was completely no rules about that. And mostly I was conducting lectures to people which I never seen through the whole half a year. And nobody also was talking anything. It was a very... I had a feeling that I'm talking to myself like for an hour and a half, which was really like I really had a feeling that I'm not teaching anyone anything. There are still some classes online, but if there are exercises, for example, now I just ask students to switch on camera. And also when I'm taking part in meetings online, I always switch on my camera because I know it's more comfortable to the other people.
So you hear that, dear audience? Turn on your cameras. It's not an invasion of privacy. It's simply how the world works. So now
no,
this...
sorry, this is a question of communication, of course, because, well, in psychology, I'm not a psychologist, but in psychology, it's said that 90% of our communication is not words. It's our face, it's our gestures, it's how we talk, it's also what we talk, but our faces, our impressions. So if you cut off this 90%, you cannot communicate with the person on the other side.
So what about this up-and-coming new generation? People who are, let's call them digital natives, right? These people grew up with their cell phones, with their laptops, so on and so forth. And their communication is through direct messaging, for example. And they feel much more comfortable direct messaging. And we've seen that, especially as academic teachers, that we're seeing people who feel more comfortable with direct messaging and not using an online environment. Are you preparing as a workforce for this new generation to come in? And do you think there will be a conflict at one point?
Well, I think the new generation should talk to us about it, how they feel about direct communication. I can only say how I feel about it as a representative of older generation, perhaps. And for example, in business situations, it's very important. I'm not only in business situation, in private life, in business situations, it's very important to communicate with people effectively. And you cannot execute it only using messengers or communicators, or you have to talk to people, you have to be present because everything is important. As I said, 90% of our communication is not verbs, it's our non-verbal communication.
So let's talk about best practices. I'll be your potential employee, and as you say, communication. And I'm coming to you with my problem. I have a problem with my manager. My manager keeps sending messages that certain things need to be done. He's telling me that I need to do this because if I don't finish, then the project requires, and I know I shouldn't be doing this, but if I don't do it, I might get into trouble. What do you suggest I tell my manager?
Just talk to him or her openly about your feelings.
I tried, but he doesn't listen to me. And I feel overwhelmed. Is there some kind of guidance? Because you're the big boss, you're the head of the company. Can you tell me how to approach this? Can you give me any guideline? Because I don't know what to do. Because he's constantly sending everything. And I told him that I'm stressed, I'm worked out. I don't know what to do.
I would again say talk to your manager, because what is the reason that you talk to your manager and she or he doesn't listen to you? Is there a problem with the communication? Did you talk directly? I
talk directly. The problem is that he doesn't see me as a person, but only sees the projects that need to be done. And Anya, maybe you can tell me, what can I do?
Yes, I think this problem should be addressed at the beginning with, developing human connection in a company by various activities which are already usually done in companies, But in that case, you can just talk to this manager and tell him about the feeling of the employer if they are not able to communicate, and later maybe invite them both and talk to them both. I don't know.
So should I go to someone higher? If my manager
There is always an HR department.
There's always the HR department. Oh yeah, these guys always come in handy. So now, building a virtual team. Let's say the SwitchOff team met in person here, but mostly they see each other online. How can they support each other in being a team when they practically don't know each other? So how can they work successfully? Do you have any solutions here?
Well, I just think they can engage in similar activities like non-online people, like virtual meetings, virtual coffee breaks, maybe some quizzes, some games, things like that.
Do you have any suggestions for the SwitchOff team? How they can build their bonding over this and become a more effective team?
Well, apart from what Anna said, of course, I imagine they can meet online with the camera on, not off, to see their faces, to see their expressions, not only hear verbs. There is always the possibility to take some time when you are talking about yourself, your things that are important for you, that is not the time devoted only to the realization of the project, just to getting yourself better. And as Anna said, having the virtual coffee, this is what companies performed during the pandemic times. We also had to find some time just to have coffee together, like we every day have in the kitchen, to talk about things which are not related to work, to some other things. So this is the only recommendation, and of course, whenever you have time, just meet personally, because this is the best.
So what does the future hold? Do you think that online working will become more prevalent? Will it then, because now, as you said, we have this tendency going back to the office, but with artificial intelligence now on the rise, will this be anyway the future of work, that we go back to the online environment because we'll be using these AI tools and will no longer be needed in the office? I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking. What do you think it'll look like?
I think we will be needed in the office, some of us at least. So we will combine both. We will work in the hybrid mode. According to me, this is the future of work.
Hybrid mode?
I think maybe workers will becoming gradually more independent, and the responsibilities will be more divided. That's one thing which I...
So we have a lot of young people out there, and what can we tell them? Is everybody here ready to work both remotely and in the office? Are you ready to work in this hybrid model? Anyone from the audience, from the young audience with us today?
Okay, thank you, because I think this is a very important and very interesting question. Maybe would you like to share your opinions, because as Anna mentioned, you are the
future.
You are the future, yes, and you are the young generation, and you probably are used to more maybe working, but other now learning online, yes, because you experienced that during the pandemic days. So maybe you have some thoughts, some observations from your studies, from your work. Do you think it's more convenient to work from home, to communicate online with your friends, with your teachers, with your employees? I would like to hear some thoughts from you guys. So maybe is there any volunteer to want to share?
Don't be afraid. Or you could DM me on messengers.
Okay.
Okay, so my name is Kuba, and I believe that the hybrid model would fit the best for me, because during COVID I remember that while learning online I didn't really feel like I was learning anything, and it was very hard to focus. So I think most of the times we should be there at work, but if someone needs to or wants to work online, it should be available. Just this hybrid model, I think, would be the best, and personally that is what I would choose.
Okay, thank you very much. So
Can I ask a question to Kuba?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Kuba, what is for you work-life balance? I would like to hear the younger generation. What is for them work-life balance?
Well, I think it was very well said before that it's to make time for your work and be happy and don't feel like too tired and don't find it monotonous, but also find time for personal things and just manage those both things that you feel happy with them and just make it the way it fits you. But it's mostly about managing personal life and work. Yeah, that's basically it.
Hello. And if your company has targets, for example, you have to achieve, would you be able to combine it with your personal life and your personal goals?
Well, as I started studying recently, I am getting more used to finding this self discipline and making myself do some things more regularly and keep more on schedule. So I believe that I would finish all the targets, and I would find time for doing the work and also enjoying my personal life at the same time.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody else who would like to share their
Guys,
experience?
Okay.
Michał. So for me, when I started studies, I had online classes, and it was awful. And I must admit that when you asked the question, I felt like I'm a little bit afraid of this hybrid mode, because I prefer to have a contact with a person face to face. And the online concept is not for me, I think. So when my manager asked me to work remotely, I would say it will be difficult for me to accept this option.
And did you talk to your manager?
No, I'm not working right now, and I just imagine that it will be difficult for me. But I think I'm enough open to talk about this issue, so we could find some kind of agreement.
Okay, thank you, Michał. Thank you. So as you can see, we're going to deal with different approaches in the future, and of course these will be challenging for all of us. But the whole point, ladies and gentlemen, is to switch off at one point. Right? This is why we met here today. This is what we're talking about, is that finding that work-life balance, learning, being self-aware, and gaining that psychological strength to put yourself forward is a very important issue. Ladies, I'd like you, if you could just finish off, with some closing remarks, for our audience, for suggestions and the importance of switching off. And why don't we start with you? Just some closing statement. Why we need to switch off?
Well, firstly, we definitely need the fresh air, also the nature and things like that. So this is the basic reason, I guess.
Okay.
Well, switching off is very important for our internal harmony, for our well-being. Definitely, I think that the younger generation doesn't have much problem with that. However, if you are working, it's necessary that you talk to your manager about it. If you think that either your manager is crossing these boundaries, because sometimes he or she may not be simply aware of that. First of all, you have to explain why it's important. On the other hand, you just have to be aware what is important for you as a person and how much switching off you need for your well-being.
So thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you. A nice round of applause for our experts.
Thank you.
And with much ado, I am also switching off. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for participating in our, I think, fruitful discussion. It was really nice to hear some voices from the audience and sharing your thoughts. I don't know if maybe partners have something to add right now, or we can finish officially our conference. I would like to invite you to lunch, which is the final point. At the end of our conference, and after that, the ones of you that didn't pick your certificates are asked to go to the reception to pick it. And I hope you like it. And I would like to invite you for other events. You can always find information about